Hello, everyone. Happy midweek. Whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening where you are, we are thrilled to have you with us today for our webinar, AI Tools for Interpreters. We're already seeing many of you joining, and we'd love to know where you're tuning in from. If you don't mind, drop your country, your city, or state in the chat. We always enjoy hearing from participants around the globe. I see Kentucky, Mexico City, nice, Canada, Iowa, Boston, Maryland, Newport. Wow, awesome. I am Liliana Dinu, the Content and Curriculum Development Specialist at Cross Cultural Communications, a top US training agency for medical and community interpreting, offering both self-paced and live training programs. I'll be your host for this action-packed hour. Also joining us from behind the scenes today is my colleague Naisel, who will be my tech wizard. As cross-cultural communications administrative support specialist, Naisel will manage the chat and will provide useful information throughout the webinar. Thank you, Naisel. Welcome, everyone. As we wait for everyone to hop online, I'd like to share some exciting upcoming training opportunities from cross-cultural communications. So you can find all the details on our website, and Naisel will be posting the links in the chat as we go. Just a quick reminder, CCC does operate on Eastern time zone. First, we have our linguistic AI and prompt engineering for language specialists. What the community interpreter should know. You can save $30 when you register by May 30th. Learn to harvest the power of AI language tools specifically for interpreting contexts. Understand how to craft effective prompts, leverage linguistic AI for terminology research, and integrate these cutting-edge technologies into your interpreting practice ethically and effectively. It's live via Zoom on Saturday, June 14th, mark your calendars, from 12 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Second, we're excited to offer our Video Remote Interpreting Advanced Techniques workshop. You can save $30 again when you register by May 30th. Take your remote interpreting to the next level with our comprehensive workshop. Learn essential skills for the rapidly expanding telehealth field where assignments are becoming increasingly complex. Become the skilled, confident interpreter that clients are demanding. On Saturday, June 28th, it starts at 12 and ends at 5 p.m. Eastern Time as well, live on Zoom. Our third workshop is Forensic Evaluation Interpreting. So you can also save $30 when you register by June 24th. Specialized training for interpreting in forensic settings, including healthcare, legal proceedings, asylum applications, and immigration hearings. You can learn how to navigate emotionally charged moments with professionalism, clarity, and empathy. It is live via Zoom on Tuesday, July 22nd and Thursday, July 24th from 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And finally, we're proud to present the Community Interpreter International Training of Trainers, beginning July 7th, 2025. You can become a licensed trainer for the industry's most trusted program, with the industry's most trusted program. Lead your own sessions of the nationally recognized 40-hour certificate program for community, medical, and educational interpreting. Join over 500 trainers worldwide who deliver this prestigious program. Registration is now open. So now I will go over a few points regarding the webinar. A few quick notes. The presentation will last about 45 minutes, and you'll need to be present for the full hour to receive CEUs. We'll have about 15 minutes for Q&A at the end, so please submit your questions in the Q&A section. For other comments or questions for us at Cross Cultural Communications, please use the chat feature instead. And if you want everyone to see your comments in the chat, please make sure you set chat to everyone. If you want to stay on after our presenter leaves at the end of the hour to chat with Naisel and I, we will be happy to answer your questions about cross-cultural communications and our programs. One last thing, our webinar has been approved for CEUs credits, and it typically takes us about 24 hours to send out the link to download the certificate of attendance. It will go to the email you used to register for this webinar. Please check your spam or junk folder if you don't see it. Certificates are only available for attendees of the live session of this webinar, and they must be downloaded within 60 days of today's session. Without further ado, let's begin our presentation, AI Tools for Interpreters. We are welcoming Nora Díaz as an English-Spanish translator, conference interpreter, and chair of the American Translators Association Professional Development Committee. She is named one of the top 30 women in the language industry in 2023 and recipient of ATA's Innovation Award in 2024. Nora will show us how generative AI can support interpreters throughout their workflow. You'll learn practical strategies to integrate AI tools for preparation, real-time interpretation, and post-assignment analysis, seeing how technology can enhance but never replace human expertise in our field. Welcome, Nora.
Thank you, Liliana. Thank you, Nicelle, and everyone at Cross Cultural Communications. It's a pleasure for me to be here. And wow, I love the energy there. I could barely keep up. Hello, everyone from all over the world. It's wonderful to see so many dedicated professionals at this webinar today. And so let's get started because we don't have a lot of time, but we do have a lot of material. So I'm going to start sharing my screen. Give me just a second because I'm traveling today. So I want to make absolutely sure that I am sharing correctly from my laptop here. And I want to share. There we go. And if you could give me a quick one in the chat there, if you can see my screen, you should be seeing a little AI generated image there. Thank you for all the ones coming in already. Wonderful. And this is going to be about AI and tech tools for interpreters. So I'm assuming everyone here is an interpreter or plans to be an interpreter. And what I would love to hear about is your working languages. So let me see if I can get an idea working languages are. And while I'm looking at that, I would love to say also thank you very much to our interpreters on the call today, both oral and ASL interpreters who are helping us today. Wonderful. Well, I see a lot of Spanish, I see Portuguese, I see other languages, Haitian, Creole, Navajo, Mandarin, all right, French, ASL, Korean, wonderful. So some of my examples today do have Spanish, but you don't need to know Spanish, right? The idea is I want to demonstrate the technique and what you can do with these tools. So let's get started here. That image that you're looking at right now, of course, was generated by AI, and the idea was to see an interpreter being assisted by AI tools and tech tools during her work. And as we can see here, the represented the interpreter being surrounded by these tools, and that is kind of what we are going to be um, discussing today. So let's start with generative AI to help with preparation. And does everybody understand what generative AI is? Let me know there in the chat and we can use a quick code where one is yes, two is no, three, I'm not sure. So just to be very clear about what it is that we're talking about, because I have the chat over here, not because I'm getting distracted. Um, I will try to very quickly explain what generative AI is. So, AI in general, of course, is machines doing things for us. But generative AI is a branch of AI that generates a language. It doesn't go and do a Google search. I mean, it's not like a Google search where it will go and look for something or look something up and serve it to you. It's based on a prompt, on an instruction. So it's pretty much as if we were all sitting in the same room today, and I asked you to come up with a short poem about, I don't know, lilies. Everybody in the room would be able to create their own poem based on that prompt, write a poem about lilies, but no two poems would be the same. Why? Because there are different people who have different ideas, different ways of putting language together. And that is what happens with generative AI. It doesn't go and find information for you, it generates information for you. Based on what? Based on data that was used to train what we call the model, the large language model. That's a very oversimplified explanation of how that works. but we're going to be looking at examples today. So the first type of tool that we are going to be talking about is generative AI to help with preparation. Before you go and interpret. And yes, so Stephanie says, oh, so like ChatGPT. Yes, ChatGPT is one way of interacting with generative AI. It's one large language model, the chatbot interface. There are other interfaces as well. But yes, thanks. And we're going to look at some of these things in the webinar. The first thing is to remember and to understand that you get what you ask for. So if you're a little frustrated that you are not getting what you wanted to get out of AI, it's likely that it's not the technology. It's likely that you haven't found the right prompt yet. So let's see what I mean by this. For example, if you go to ChatGPT and you give it this prompt up here, give me a glossary of allergy terms. If that's the only prompt I give it, just like that, and I get this, I should not complain because I did ask for a glossary of allergy terms and I got a glossary of allergy terms. Maybe this is not what I had in mind, but that's what I asked for. So if I feel frustrated after getting that, what I need to do is refine my prompt. So as an interpreter, and let me know if you agree with me, but as an interpreter, this is not what I had in mind. Because as an interpreter, what do I want? I want a bilingual glossary, my working languages. I want it to be ordered alphabetically. That's just me, maybe. Or let me know if you also like alphabetical glossaries. I want it to have definitions, maybe other things. So if that's what I want, that's what I should ask for. So look at this prompt and let me try and zoom in so you see that better. Look at this prompt here. And I see Giancarlo says he agrees. Give me an English to Spanish bilingual glossary in format with 20 common allergy terms. The target audience is patients with an eighth grade education. Sort the glossary alphabetically and start every term with lowercase unless it's a proper name. So this prompt is going to get me something a lot more specific because I'm asking for an English to Spanish bilingual glossary in table format with a specific number of terms. I'm giving it the topic and I'm also specifying the audience. So look at what I got. This is what I got this time. And that's what I had in mind. Now, if I wanted a glossary that I could use, for example, to interpret a medical conference, then I would specify that I need this to be for doctors, for healthcare professionals, and so on. And I would get something different. So, are we starting to see the difference there? Give me a one, a two, if not yet. But the idea is it depends on the prompt. What we get out of the AI of ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Copilot, etc., is dependent on the prompt that we use. So let's go to the next one here. So that means we have to write clear prompts. Basically, the AI model, the AI, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, etc., can't read your mind. If you would not ask a human being to do something for you with a very limited instruction, don't give that instruction to an AI. Be as specific as possible. Indicate the format if there is a format that you want. Do you want a table? Do you want a list? Do you want bullet points? Depending on what you need, what you want, be specific about it. If there is something that you want to emphasize and that you see that you're not getting, case, the AI, the model, will not think that you are shouting. So don't worry about that. And don't worry about being rude to the AI because it doesn't interpret uppercase as shouting. It interprets uppercase as this needs to be emphasized. This part of the prompt is important. And I always say in my trainings that you should treat AI as an intern. And I see, as I was seeing you join the call, I see some people that I've had the good fortune of having in my trainings, and you have heard me say this before. So treat it as an intern. And just as you would with an intern, tell the AI to ask you any questions it may have. You will be surprised at how intelligent and how good the questions can be. For example, let's say that I want a glossary of lab tests. And so I say, me a glossary of lab tests. And I finish that by saying, ask any questions you have before proceeding. So before it goes out and completes the task, ChatGPT has a few questions for me. The first question is scope. Should the glossary be broad, covering all types of lab tests? So, what kind of scope do I have in mind? Audience. Is the intended audience the general public, patients, or healthcare professionals? Also, format. Would I like the glossary in a table, in a list, etc.? And if I want a table, should the glossary include columns for abbreviations, full names, definitions, and so on? Language. Do I want the glossary to be in English, in Spanish, or bilingual? And I see that some of you have several working languages. So in that, have multi-language glossaries. It doesn't have to be English or Spanish. I mean, only two languages. And of course, content details. Do you need abbreviations and acronyms to be included alongside definitions? So these are the questions that the AI has for me. Do you think these questions are helpful? Give me a one if yes, a two if no, a three if you're not sure. They're in the chat, so I have an idea. See, very useful questions. So answer the questions and this is what that looks like. I answer the questions by simply listing, giving it the number of the question and then giving my answer, right? Genetic testing, patients, table, yes to additional columns, English and Spanish, yes when appropriate. And this is what I get. Oops, sorry. This is what I get. This is the glossary. We're not going to look at the specifics of the glossary, but look at how there is an abbreviation column. There is the English, the Spanish, and the definition. So do we like this? Give me a one if you like it, a two if you don't like it, a three if you're not sure yet. So I see a lot of ones coming in. So I think we all agree by now that the quality of our prompt will determine the quality of the output. So the lesson to remember from this very short these examples is that we have to learn to write good prompts. And doesn't mean that you have to become a prompt engineer or you have to go to college for 4 years. No, you just have to understand how to ask for what you need. And make sure that if you're not getting what you wanted, you go back and refine your prompt so that you will get the result you want. And once you have gotten a good prompt, save it and reuse it. Because once you have a good prompt, it's like gold that will give you good results over and over. Very good. Now, um, how do you ask for what you need? Zaya, thank you for asking that. And the answer is very simple. Just ask for what you need. For example, let's say that you need a glossary of court interpreting terms and you want to make sure that it includes all the phrases and expressions that are used by lawyers and judges. You simply say that. You say, help me put together a glossary. You don't have to use, sophisticated language. Help me put together a glossary of terms that are used normally in court, and that can include phrases and expressions that are used by judges and by, the defense attorney. You can speak in natural language when asking the AI. All right. Patricia is asking, does the same prompt generate different results on different days? Yes, Patricia, not even on different dates, on different days. If you give it the same prompt, if you give it a prompt and then 5 minutes later you give it the same prompt, you're going to get different results. Because remember, this is generating the information, it's not finding it somewhere. Now, I want to warn you about something, but I also want to tell you about some good news, and that is search and research. Do we have to do search for our work? Let me know. Give me a one if yes, a two if no. And yes, we have to do a lot of search and research. So when ChatGPT first came out and the other chatbots first came out, they were not connected to the internet, but that changed very quickly. And today, ChatGPT can search the internet. But I want you to be very, very aware of what's happening and know what to look for to see if it's supposed to be doing. Because let me say, as an example, if you were to come to me and ask me about I don't know, greenhouse gases. And an example that I like to use because I used to interpret a lot about um, environmental topics. But let's say that you came to me and I don't have my phone with me, I don't have my computer with me, and you came up to me and you said, Nora, what can you tell me about greenhouse gases? Well, what I would share with you would be only what's in my head, right? Only whatever I was able to learn and retain and remember and be able to share with you. So that would be all. But if you came to me and asked me the same question, what can you tell me about greenhouse gases? And I have my phone with me or I have my computer with me where I can go and Google it, then I can give you more information and probably more accurate information and more complete, more thorough information. And if you said to me, this is an encyclopedia on environmental matters, and these are all journals on the environment, and these are specific books, go and sit down for 5 hours and put together a report on greenhouse gases, then I would be able to give you something very specific, probably highly specialized. Would you agree? Well, the same thing happens with the web search capabilities in all of these models because you would think that as soon as you ask something, it goes and searches the web, but it doesn't. In fact, some of the answers that we get are from its internal data without searching the web. And you have to be able to distinguish when it has searched the web and when it hasn't. Because basically, remember, generative AI, ChatGPT, Claude, etc., is not Google. So it's not, doing a search right away. Let me show you some examples. This is an example without web search. And to show you how it works, I didn't use a prompt where I said, give me an explanation about this or that. I simply used keywords the way we do when we do a Google search, right? And so I said, drugs used to treat atopic dermatitis, right? And I'm getting a response from ChatGPT. These are the topical treatments, first line in mild to moderate cases of drugs to treat atopic dermatitis. But this answer came from whatever ChatGPT has in its head to make an analogy with what I was saying earlier, the information that was used to train ChatGPT, not from any information that is out on the web today. How do I know this? The reason I know this is because there are no sources. If you look at this, do you see any sources here? Of course not, right? There are no sources because this didn't do a web search. So that is what lets you know that there was no web search. Now, on my next slide, I have an example of what happens when I use exactly the same keywords, but this time I clicked this little button down here that says search, and that forces the web search. So in that case, this is looking a bit more like Google, right? Where I get images at the top, and then I got the information in Spanish, but you don't have to worry about that because we're not looking at the actual information. But I got a summary here, and then I got this information. And when I scroll down, there will be sources listed. And when I click on the sources, this panel opens on the side, and these are the sources that were used, right? Can I please zoom my screen? This is there are some things that I can zoom in, but I want you to look at the full picture. Maybe play a little with the zoom controls on your screen to make it as big as possible. You can, make the speaker very small, and that would be helpful. Now, what I want you to pay attention to here, something we have to be very careful about is does everybody know what SEO means on Google? For example, for Google searches, SEO, search engine optimization. And I see some ones and some twos coming up. Yes, search engine optimization. When you have something on Google, that information is ranked so that the most useful information shows first, right? The first results are usually very useful results. At the moment, in searches that are conducted, for example, in ChatGPT, there is no SEO. There is no search engine optimization. And how do I know this? Because look at the very first source that I'm given for this very important medical topic. The very first source comes from a website that is called Passion for Makeup in Spanish, right? Passion for Makeup. And then there's Wikipedia, there's a website called Up to Date. And then the fourth one is the National Eczema Association. And then the fifth one is Medscape. So these two are reliable sources, but they don't appear at the top. So we have to be careful about this. Now, there is a third thing that you can do. So we saw no web search. This is web search that you enable by clicking that button. And then there is another mode. And for this one, I'm going to go to the live ChatGPT window. So if you bear with me for a second, I'm going to bring this is the actual live ChatGPT window. This is all of your chats are saved. So I want to show you what it looks like, right? So this is the beginning where I didn't have any sources. Then this is when I clicked the search button and I got this, and you can see the sources listed here, right? Um, and then when I clicked that deep research button, which is the equivalent of you giving me specialized books and asking me to write a report on the topic, then before it goes out and does the task, ChatGPT is asking me, could you please clarify what type of information you're looking for? Because I'm asking it to do deep research. So it wants me to narrow. Are you interested in topical, systemic, or biologic treatments? Is this for adult or pediatric patients? Do you want brand names, blah, blah, blah? I said all of it. So this was not immediate. The response is not immediate. It took about 10 minutes to put together the report. Um, and it looks like this, right? So it starts with the title, and then it classifies the information like this. There are sources here, and the sources are more reliable than what I got out of the web search. So when you are preparing for an interpreting assignment and you have to understand a new topic, if you have the paid version of ChatGPT, because this is only available in the plus version that costs $20 a month, then you can use this feature, just ask it to put together a report, leave it running in the background, come back to it a few minutes later, and you will have something like this. I'm going to scroll down, look at how long that is and how complete it is with the latest information. And there are some sources at the bottom there. Now, I'm going to close that and go back to our screen. And how is the deep search prompted? Someone was asking. Well, let me go back to my previous slide here. You see these buttons here at the bottom in the text box. Search, this one is for web search. Deep research is this one here. You have to click that button to enable deep research. And again, this is only going to be available if you have the paid version of ChatGPT. But this is this is a tool that we use for our work, so it makes sense for us to pay for this kind of tool. Now, after saying all that, I have to remind everyone that we have to be careful about something called hallucinations, because ChatGPT and other chatbots as well can hallucinate. And even though that word, some people say sounds too human, and it's not the kind of thing that should be used to describe technology, hallucination means that AI is making, right? So it can give you information that is completely incorrect, that is completely made up by the tool. Has anybody seen hallucinations? Let me know. And I will check over here. Yes, a lot of people have seen hallucinations. Now, the thing is with hallucinations, in order to recognize them, you have to know what to look for. So, for example, if I ask who is the author of this book, and the model, the AI, gives me an answer, I have to have an idea of what the correct answer is in order to identify if this is a hallucination or not. And what that means is if there is factual information that you want to get, it's best to go to Google. That's still more reliable, right? Because otherwise, not a subject matter expert and you're asking for factual information on a specific topic by using ChatGPT or Gemini and so on, it's likely that you won't be able to identify a hallucination. Um, let me see. Do we have any questions? I'm going to go to the Q&A box. Let's please, because the chat is super active, let's try and send our questions in the Q&A here so we can answer them. Let's see. Brenda was asking, how can you be sure that the information is correct, the correct terms for the right audience? Do you spot check the results? Yes, yes, Brenda. And not only spot check, but you need to verify and validate everything that you get out of ChatGPT. This is, and I'm not only ChatGPT, but generative AI in general. These tools are always a starting point, never an end result. Um, let's see. So I'm going to skip the comments and stick to the questions if that's okay with everyone, because we don't have enough time to go through all the comments. Okay. And if anybody has comments that they want to share with everybody else, please share them in the chat and let's keep the Q&A box only for questions. So, okay, let me see. So Google, Delilah is asking, Google is more reliable than generative AI for factual information? Yes, it is. Um, can you give us some examples of hallucinations, please? Well, the example I just shared about giving the wrong book author, the wrong name for a book author is an example. And we don't have enough time to cover that. I have like 10 slides with, not in this presentation, with hallucinations, but basically it just makes things up. Difference between Gemini and ChatGPT, we won't have enough time to cover that, but I will mention that briefly. Now, Megumi is asking, is it safe to enter protected health information in generative AI tools? The answer is no. But, and we won't be able to talk about data confidentiality and security at the moment, but please contact me afterwards, and or if we have time later, I will share with you a mini training that is free that a colleague and I put together about protecting your data and understanding what you can share and what you shouldn't be sharing with AI. So let's get back to our slides. And screenshots. This is another very useful use case for tools like generative. So let's say that you have, this is an actual use case. A colleague of mine told me that she was preparing for an assignment and she had spent some time bolding some of the terminology and she wanted to get ChatGPT to extract the bold terms for her. So, but when she selected the text and pasted it into ChatGPT, all the bolding disappeared because, of course, ChatGPT only takes plain text. So the solution to that is getting a screenshot, taking a screenshot of the section where you have the terms to be extracted, and then pasting the screenshot, which is as simple as doing Control V. Instead of typing into ChatGPT, Control V, that pastes the screenshot, and then you say something like extract the text in bold, and you can see here the results. And what maybe you can share there in the chat with us what tool you use for screenshots, and that would be helpful for everyone to know and to be able to get ideas in case you're not using or you don't have a favorite screenshot tool yet. But while you're doing that, I want to show you this. This is another example, and it's the same idea, but I personally don't bold the terms that I want to extract. I highlight them. And you can tell me whether you highlight or you bold your terminology. But here, this is the same idea, a screenshot with some highlighted terms. And then this is the prompt, and I'll expand it a bit so you can take a screenshot of that if you'd like. And the prompt is extract the highlighted text and put it in a table to create a bilingual English to Spanish, provide the Spanish terms as appropriate, And I added adding an asterisk to terms you have translated yourself. I have to clarify that that last part did not work as well as I had expected because, of course, the tool had translated all of the terms for me. It didn't have a Spanish version of the screenshot, so there was nowhere to take the Spanish terms from. It had to use its own knowledge. But these are the terms that are highlighted here, and these are the translations of the terms. So let me know what you think about that. Is it helpful to, and I see some of you say you prefer bold, some of you prefer highlighting. So what do we think about this? Do we like it? And I see ones coming in and some people still saying highlight. Wonderful. So that's a use case. Let's keep going here. And as I was saying, ChatGPT is what I used for those examples for the very simple reason that it's the tool that I use the most. It's the one that I have a paid subscription for. So it's the one that I use mostly with for these tasks, but not the only one I use. And there is also all of these tools are the same category of tools, except maybe for this one, which is a little bit different. But Gemini is like ChatGPT, but it belongs to ChatGPT belongs or is developed by a company called OpenAI. Gemini is developed by Google. Copilot is developed by Microsoft. And by the way, Copilot is ChatGPT under the hood. Microsoft did not develop their own large language model. What they did was they paid OpenAI a lot of money so that they could use ChatGPT and they put their interface on it. Copilot. And then there is Claude by Anthropic, Perplexity, which has a very interesting search capabilities. DeepSeek, this one is new. Did you hear about this one? This one was on the news recently because it's Chinese and it was developed very quickly with a low budget, but it's not the most secure. Be careful. And then this one is called Grok, and it's developed by Elon Musk or his group of companies. It belongs to the same company that owns X. All right. Yes, exactly. Diego is saying Grok is from X, or formerly known as Twitter. All right. So now let's talk a little about interacting with reference materials. For your own work, do you get reference materials? For example, I'm a conference interpreter, so I will usually, sometimes last minute, but I usually get PDFs, PowerPoint slides, sometimes, I don't know, Word documents. Do we get reference materials? Let me know. Yes, PDF. Hi, I'll see that. So I see some twos, some ones, some nos. All right. So if you do get reference materials, this is a quick way of interacting with your reference materials. And let me see how we're doing for time. Okay. Um, so to interact with your reference materials, a nice way of doing this or an easy way of doing this is using Microsoft Edge. That's the browser that comes with Microsoft PCs, but you can also download it on Apple computers using Microsoft Edge plus Copilot. What do I mean by this? Let's see. So you can use, if you open a website on Edge, this is that image. I'm just going to show you a bigger version of that. If you open a website on Edge, this is Microsoft Edge, and this is a Wikipedia website, right? A Wikipedia article about the global stock take, a topic that I have to interpret a lot about. And so this page, when you have that page open in Microsoft Edge and click this icon in the upper right corner, which is the Copilot icon, that opens this side panel, the Copilot side panel. So it's not a separate app or a separate website. It's a side panel that is attached to the main website. And what you can do is this, when the side panel is opened, that is going to be connected or is going to have, the term is, it's going to have of the website. And that means that you can ask things about the website. So I open the website, click here, open the Copilot side panel, and then I say, for example, This is an example of a prompt. Extract key terms, phrases, and expressions and show them in a bilingual English to Spanish table. And I get this. These terms are taken from where? From here, from this prompt. So it's a way of interacting with the website. Do we like that? Let me know. Give me a one there if you like that idea. And just as a reminder, you need to have Microsoft Edge. So before you start wondering, will this work on Google Chrome? Will it work on Firefox? No, this works only with Microsoft Edge. So if at some point you uninstalled Edge, this is the time to go and install it again. Many of us do that. The time we get a new computer, we go to Microsoft Edge, download our preferred browser, and then forget about Microsoft Edge forever, right? You can confirm that. Now, if you're liking this, because I see comments saying, I love this, etc. What works with Safari? I don't really know. I'm a Windows user, so if there's anybody who knows about a similar feature for Safari, please drop it there in the chat. All right. No. So if you're liking this about websites, look at this for YouTube videos. Do you ever get YouTube videos as reference materials, or do you go and find YouTube videos that could be useful for reference materials? So it's the same thing. Go open your YouTube video on Microsoft Edge. Open the side panel, the Copilot side panel, by clicking on the Copilot icon, and then Copilot will have vision of your video. It doesn't mean that it will watch the video. It means that for the most part, videos that are uploaded to YouTube have transcriptions. Transcriptions that users cannot see, but they are used to generate the subtitles, the captions on YouTube. And so Copilot is able to interact with those transcriptions. So here I ask to summarize the video on this page, and here I get this summary for total hip replacement. I get, look at this, the surgical steps, and then the different steps and so on. Now this works whether this video is in English and I'm asking for a summary in English, and that works. But if the video were in Spanish, I could ask for a summary in English or in French or in Italian, and I would get it. Um, I could also, here where it says message copilot, I could say extract the terminology or list the steps in chronological order, whatever it is, right? So that is for YouTube. Now, if we are liking the idea, and I think you are because of oh, I see a question. How do we get the Copilot app in Edge? It's not an app, it's a side panel, and you simply click that button in the upper right corner, and that opens the side panel. So if we're liking the website and video interaction on YouTube, please know that you can also interact with PDFs using the same procedure. You basically need to open your PDF in Microsoft Edge, and you can do that by dragging and dropping the PDF onto the address bar of Edge, or right click on the PDF and say open with Microsoft Edge. And it's the same thing. And this is in Spanish, but please don't worry about that. I say, can you give me a table with the terms and this document? Those of you who are medical translators will recognize this document. It's English to Spanish medical translators, right? You can recognize this, and it has terms you see in English and in Spanish, right? Here, for example, active treatment, and then the Spanish. But this is not necessarily useful for me. I mean, it's very useful, but what I want is a table. So I'm asking it to reorganize the information in a table, and here is the table, and I can download it to Excel, right? Um, so PDFs, websites, YouTube videos, all can be interacted with via Microsoft Edge and the Copilot side panel. And yes, I did see someone there say, yes, you can upload a PDF to Copilot. Of course, you can upload a PDF to ChatGPT, to Gemini, to Grok, etc. But this is a different use. This is to open a side panel so you have the PDF visible at all times as you interact with it. Now, for terminology management and use, how are we doing in time? Nicelle, Liliana, if you could just quickly tell me how much time I have left. Do I have 13 minutes or do I have 10 minutes or five
You
to see
have
how
10
quickly I
minutes
need to?
left,
10
12
minutes.
minutes
Good.
left.
Yes, good. All right. So now for terminology management and use. So the tools that we were talking about until now are generative AI tools. Now we're going to talk about other types of tools, other type of tech, but also that also uses AI. The next tool that I wanted to mention is called Interpret Bank. And give me a one there in the chat if you use Interpret Bank. Of course, this is a terminology management tool for interpreters. So it's called Interpret Bank for a reason, right? And it's a tool that you can use. I see it, some people saying yes, but a lot of people saying no, and some people are not. So Interpret Bank is used to create and manage glossaries to help us automatically translate terms, super fast term lookup, and so on. So I'm going to show you just very briefly um, this example where I have an Excel file with some terms, neurology terms. I go to Interpret Bank. I create the glossary. I give it a name. I select the languages in the glossary. And now I'm going to import that glossary. So first I gave it a name. Now I'm going to import the Excel file. And while that is working in the background, I'll explain simply that this is a way to manage your terms beyond Excel, because of course we all do Excel, right? Or Google Sheets. But after you import the terms into Interpret Bank, you can use it to help you learn the terminology. There are flashcards. And the next time you have to interpret on this particular topic, you can go back to your glossary. So here's my glossary. And in fact, while I'm interpreting, this is what I have open, not the Excel file. And if I click there is a booth mode. And if I go into booth mode, I can quickly find a term, but this is a memorization mode, for any of those difficult terms that you need to make sure that you know, right? So I can, it's like flashcards. So CNS, and then what's Spanish. And I'm just seeing this is being given to me by the tool, but I'm thinking, what's the translation for thalamus? This is a translation, and so on. And then I say, I knew that was correct, that was incorrect. And the next iteration, I will get only the incorrect terms. Now, another tool that you can use is, of course, something that is available to everyone and that you can easily create an account for, and that is called Quizlet. And Quizlet, I will just show you very briefly. I'm just going to fast forward here. You import the terms into Quizlet, and you basically create flashcards that you can use. Let's see the list. Here are the flashcards, and it's gamified. So you can have, it will give you 4 different options, and you say, this is the answer, just to help you. And what's interesting about Quizlet is there is an app that you can use on your phone. So when you're on the go, you can study your terminology, and you can also share your glossaries with others to, you know, to play with them, to share the terms so you can both learn together. Now, I want to use the last few minutes to talk about a very important topic, which is working with audio. And this is going to be for transcription and also for automated speech recognition. So if you have something that you need to transcribe, I'm going to play this in the background and I will explain. If you have, this tool is called TurboScribe. And if you have a file or if you have to a video that you want to transcribe, you can drop the link there. And then this is being done in real time. You, sorry, let me get rid of that notification. Then you drop the link and it will be transcribed. You get this tool, you can get 3 30-minute transcriptions per day. So if your transcriptions are shorter than 30 minutes, you can do up to 3 every day for free without having to pay. If you pay, you get more. And here you can see this is 7 minutes. The video is 7 minutes, and it takes only a few seconds to get the transcription. And this is a transcription about measles, a problem that is happening in my country right now. And here is the transcription. And from here, what's interesting is you can listen to that, to the audio and check that it was properly transcribed. But not only all of these options on the right hand side, you can download the PDF, the subtitles, send it to ChatGPT, and so on. So this is called TurboScribe. Now, to talk about ASR, or automated speech recognition, and I'm hoping that my colleagues who are interpreting for me today have an ASR tool available. I don't know if they like it, but I certainly love it, and I want to share that with you. So I'm going to tell you about Windows Live Captions, about Live Transcribe, that is an app for Android, Simon Note, and Akadu AI. These are the four tools that I will mention very briefly today. First of all, I want to say ASR, automated speech recognition, basically means that the interpreter gets live captions, in real time, that only the interpreter can see. And because the interpreter runs the captions. And I just want to show you this from an actual event that I was working last month, where the speaker, to talk about accuracy, because these are not 100% accurate. And so the speaker actually said, "Did I just skip a slide?" That's what she said, right? And then she said, "No, that was the last one." But these two tools that I had running on my computer, because I was preparing a presentation, and so I was taking some screenshots. This one is the Windows Live Captions, and it got, "Did I just give us lead?" instead of "Did I just skip a slide?" And the other tool that is called Maestra, you can see it here. It said that part was fine. Did I skip a slide? But then it said, "No, I was last one." So what I'm trying to say is you have to be careful, and you still have to, your ears are the first line of defense. Don't trust this 100%. So here's Windows Live Captions. If you have a computer that has Windows 11, you will be able to enable Windows Live Captions. You can do it right now, actually, by pressing the Windows key, Control, and L. And this is what it looks like.
And this is the vascular pattern I'm talking about. So this is low magnification, and these very small blood vessels are really quite conspicuous because the endothelial cells are darker.
And I know the audio is, sound is very soft on this one, but I wanted you to see what it's like. So on the left-hand side, I'm watching the video, and on the right-hand side, by pressing Windows, Control Windows L, I open this little window where I'm seeing what the speaker is saying. Now, there is another tool that does the same thing. It's called Live Transcribe. It's an app. It works on Android. It's free on Android phones and tablets. I'm showing you here, I'm taking a video with my phone. This is my tablet, and that's my computer in the background, but this is running on my tablet.
The fibromatosis is in the mesentery. The gastrointestinal stromal tumor is in the muscularis propria. In the past, there was a big problem with KIT staining in fibromatoses, and it caused many diagnostic errors.
Right. And I apologize for moving the video around, but that is you can get that. And when I'm in the booth doing a live event, I bring my tablet with me, and I put it in the middle of the booth, so both me and my booth mate can benefit from that. And of course, the king of all these tools is Simon Note, because this one was made for interpreters by interpreters. And
Lesion. So the fibromatosis invaded into the pancreas, going between the pancreatic parenchymal cells. And this is the vascular pattern I'm talking about.
so this one, as you can see, first of all, this one is not free. You can see my balance here. I have to buy minutes, but you see the red numbers are shown in blue. So figures are shown in blue. And then this, what you see in red, comes from my glossary that I uploaded to the tool. So when it term, it will show me the term in red. So this is the glossary and what it looks like. And lastly, I want to mention Akadu AI. This tool, if you go to acadu.ai, you can download it. You also have to buy minutes to use it. You have to pay a balance. But this one can show the transcription and a translation that uses Microsoft Translator at the same time. So this is what that looks like.
Are replaced with artificial components called prostheses. An artificial hip prosthesis consists of a cup called the acetabular component and a metal stem called the femoral component.
Right? So you see the English here and the Spanish there. Of course, you can pick
Are
other languages. So, for conclusions, remember that AI should not be seen as a replacement, but as an assistant. Don't trust it blindly. Use your own brain first. Identify a problem that you need to cover or a need that you have and find a solution. That's a great way of playing with AI or finding the right AI for you. Test various options and choose the best one. And it's important that you run practice sessions to use these tools. Don't use them for the very first time during an actual assignment so that you feel more confident when you go to the assignment. Keep strengthening your skills because the tool is not the skill. The fact that you have a does not mean that now you have better skills. Your skills as an interpreter continue to be the most important thing. The tools are there to support you, but the tool is not the skill. And I want to finish by inviting everyone to join us at the AI in Interpreting Summit that is coming up June 6th to 8th. That's a Friday to Sunday. And we are going to have 17 speakers talking about AI. I'm one of the co organizers, and it's AI for interpreters. So I hope you can join us. It's free and you can register today. And this is my contact information. So if you scan the QR code, we will be connected. I would love to connect with you on LinkedIn if you are there, where I like to share many of these things that I play with and that I find out about. Thank you, everyone. And do we have any questions? Let me see. I know there are a lot of questions, but if my colleagues, Raisel and Liliana, could help, um, find a couple that we want to answer, that would be great.
Correct. Thank you so much, Nora. First of all, I just wanted to quickly say that that was fantastic and incredibly comprehensive. Thank you for sharing your time and expertise. We totally learned a lot. Thank you specifically for highlighting how AI tools can support interpreters while still emphasizing the critical role of human judgment and expertise. I really appreciated the practical examples of how these tools can be integrated at different stages of our work. And the way you broke down the process of creating glossaries using AI was incredibly useful. Something that interpreters can truly benefit from. It's definitely a strategy we should all start incorporating into our daily workflow now. So, I gathered a couple questions that were interesting to me. One of them is one of our participants is asking, I use generative AI myself, but I'm struggling with the environmental impact and the ethical issues around copyright. Is this a consideration among leaders in the language industry?
Oh, it definitely is. If you come to the AI Interpreting Summit, we have a great discussion about the environmental impact of AI. And I know that that is, and of course, the ethical, concerns surrounding copyright. So it's definitely a concern. Uh, I don't, I mean, I'm not an expert in those areas. Of course, I follow the discussions and I agree that we shouldn't be using it to play. And I try to use it conscientiously. But yes, it's definitely a discussion that we need to be a part of.
Mhm. Thank you. I agree. Another second question I have that I found interesting was how can we validate a glossary? Do we take term by term and just make sure, oh, my brain is saying yes, or this resource that is trustful says yes or no?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, just as you would, the thing is, these tools can help us speed up the work, but they are not doing the work for us. And thankfully, right, because otherwise we would be replaced very easily. Our expertise, our role as language experts and as subject matter experts continues to be very important because we have to go in and validate these things. Now, if you had asked me this question a year ago, I would have said you have to manually go and check every term in a trusted, reliable source. But now, with the deep research and web search capabilities, Liliana, exactly what you said is possible
Mhm.
because you can say, give me reliable sources where I can see that this is the correct translation for this term. And very
Mm.
quickly you can get there, right? So you can ask it to self validate immediately with a little tag on to the glossary prompt where I say, give me terms that are validated by valuable resources, by reliable resources. Sources. And if you have the sources, like for example, if you always want to go to the Mayo Clinic and this and that website, you can always say, limit your searches to these websites, right?
Those are important prompts. Actually, it goes to the next question that I was thinking about asking you real quickly. I know it is 12:33. I don't know how much time you have for us still. If you can have just one more question,
Yeah, no, I'm good. I have an
that's good.
interpreting assignment, but not for another 45 minutes or so. So I'm
Okay,
good.
thank you so much. So, what would a list be of additional prompts that you specifically have found useful for interpreting assignments?
Well, to answer that question, I'm going to try and find very quickly the link to this resource. I don't have a list like off the top of my head that I could share with you right now, but Josh Goldsmith and I put together what we call a prompt library for interpreters and translators that we call the prompt powerhouse. So I'm going to find the link for that and invite everyone to explore that possibility, because that is a list of tried, prompts that we created, we developed, we tested, and we know they work. So here it is. It's called the Prompt Powerhouse. And yeah, so that's, you will find lots of good prompts for interpreters there.
Awesome. The question is in the chat. So, the link is in the
The
chat.
link,
So
yes.
make sure, yes, make sure you click on it and you save the website because the chat will disappear soon as we close the session. Another question would be, how can we use AI to improve the taking notes process? So note taking AI tools. Do you have any recommendations?
Yes, well, ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude and so on will basically do anything you ask them to do. So you can ask them to be your tutor for note taking, and you can use them, for note taking exercises. But I will add to that Simon Note, that tool where I showed you the
Mhm.
transcription feature, where you have terms in red and all that. It has a consecutive note taking mode where it will not show you the transcript as a running transcript, but it will show you kind of a consecutive, divided into columns. And you can, as it's going, you can actually be adding things to it. So I would encourage you to check out Simon Note, the consecutive mode capabilities.
Okay, we will make note of that. Another question I'm reading right now, I'm also sincerely, personally interested. What about the new Apple Siri AI? Have you tested that?
I have not. I'm not an Apple user. I was for a long time, and then I ditched the iPad and the iPhone in favor of Android devices for the very simple reason that I am a Windows user, and I found it incredibly difficult to get the two systems to speak to each other, and Android works better with Windows. So I don't really have anything to contribute to that. I'm sorry.
I totally understand. We are definitely divided in between Apple
Yeah, I see
versus
someone saying I
Android.
hate Windows. That's funny.
It's preference, guys. We can't fight over that. Everybody has different tastes, and I do know for art and design, it is more useful to use Apple, but in our world, I think you can definitely benefit more from Windows for certain programs. Well, thank you so much, Nora. Um, I don't know if you have anything else that you would like to tell our
No,
participants.
just
Any
someone
special?
was asking about the interpreting summit, and I just wanted to share the link there in the chat, but it didn't come out as a link. So if you give me a moment, I will post the exact link. Here it is, and you can register. Get your free ticket right now for the summit. We already expected to be very well attended, and there are many sessions where you can interact with others, and it's 3 days of learning that is very, very enriching. And I just want to say thank you to Cross Cultural Communications for this opportunity to speak to so many of you. Thank you, everyone who was here, for your interest and your comments and your questions. I need an AI to keep up with all the comments in the chat, all the questions in the Q&A box. And I want to thank our amazing interpreters. And I am so sorry that sometimes I was rushing. I know I was speaking fast at sometimes, and I tried to remember to slow down a bit, but I want to thank you because I'm sure you did an amazing, amazing job.
Thank you, Nora. The pleasure was most definitely ours. Thank you for enlightening us with all of this new information. Now, the hard part will be for us to learn how to put it into practice. And personally, I would just like to tell everyone that you just have to dive into it. You just have to start trying it out. It is terrifying at the beginning. Nobody has the time to do these things. But I think in the long run, if you start getting used to it, it will become a support and it will be very helpful. And it is important in nowadays world to rely on AI to a certain extent, obviously, so that we can keep up with it and not get left behind. But thank you so much, Nora. Thank you for being here with us. Nigel and I will still be here for a little bit. If anybody has any questions about cross-cultural communications, thank you, Nora. We shall see you soon at the summit.
I'll say goodbye for now. I'll see you at the summit and let's all connect on LinkedIn. Thank you again.
Perfect.
Bye bye.
Bye, Nora. Thank you.